Buying a car should be simple, but between the options of buying outright, financing, and leasing, what do we do? It's very controversial about what is the best method, but today I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of each method, walk you through a real life example over 3 years to let you know which is the best outcome. Part 1. The options. I'm going to give you a simple overview of all 3 options. Number 1 is buying the car outright. This means you put all the money up front and then you own the car. There are no monthly payments and no interest. Option number 2 is financing the car. So you borrow money to own the car in the end. So you do own the car at the end of this, but you pay monthly payments, which are usually quite high, and you have to pay interest. Number 3 is leasing. You pay monthly payments again, but they are usually lower than financing, but you do not own the car at the end. Okay, part 2, real 3-year cost comparison. Let's go into the calculations for each of the 3 options. We're going to assume an Audi A1 at the cost of $30,000. We're going to assume that you can resell this car for $20,000 at the end of the 3 years. So if we look at option 1, it's pretty simple. We give $30,000, we get the car, and after 3 years, we sell it for $20,000, $300 of selling fees. This gives us a total cost of $10,300. Moving on to option 2, if we assume an APR of 8%, the monthly payments will be $942 per month. Over 3 years, this will be $33,912. It's obviously more than $30,000, around 13% more. If we sell this and we have the same selling fees of $300, we sell for $20,000 because remember, with the financing option, we own the car at the end. We have paid $14,212 as opposed to the $10,300 for the first option. So we are ending up paying almost $4,000 more. Now let's move on to the leasing option. So the monthly payments here would only be $400 per month as opposed to the $942 for the financing option. Sounds good, right? But you don't own it by the end. So after 3 years, you would have paid $14,400. With a disposition fee of around $350 on average, your total cost at the end of the 3 years would be $14,750. And remember, you can't sell the car because you don't own the car. So that is a little more than the financing option, around $500 more than the financing option. If we want to look at all of this and we don't want to sell the car, let's take a look. So the buying option, if we don't want to sell the car, it's just a straight up $30,000. Financing option, if we don't want to sell the car, we will have paid $33,912, which means we have paid around $4,000 more for the car on finance than if we had have just bought it outright. The third option, we don't own the car, so we don't sell it. We would have paid $14,750. But by the end of it, we don't own it. So we did pay less, but we don't have any assets to show for it. What is interesting for me here, though, is that the buy option cost $30,000. The finance option cost $33,912. So on the face of it, the buying option is cheaper, right? However, we have to look at the opportunity cost. The opportunity cost of putting that $30,000 in an investment like the S&P 500, we know that over 3 years, if we average 8% return, which is on average what the S&P 500 does, last year it did 23%, but let's assume 8% to be conservative. And of course, this depends on the year. It can go up, it can go down. But an average of 3 years, we're going to assume 8%. That $30,000 in the S&P 500 would make us, over 3 years, $7,791 profit, which means if we take into account the opportunity cost, it's actually cheaper to finance the car. And this is something that really surprised me. So you are paying $4,000 more by financing, but that $30,000, assuming that you have it in the first place, can be working for you in the S&P 500. So that is something you really do need to consider. Of course, there's psychological factors here. For example, when you have a car on finance, you have debt, you have monthly payments to think about, you know that you're paying interest. There's just something about owning something outright that makes you not worry. If you lose your job, you know you have a car and you don't need to keep up with any monthly payment. But Having no debt, having no monthly payments, keeping full control over the mileage and the condition of the car is a great argument for buying outright. However, it does require having a significant amount of savings up front if you're buying a brand new car. Financing is really good if you want predictable payments, you want to own the car at the end, but interest and being locked into payments, as I said, is not the best if you want to feel free. On this channel, I always recommend people take on as little debt as possible. Leasing, you can get a newer car for a lower monthly payment, but as you see, you still pay significant amounts over time and you have no assets to show for it. On top of it, you might get penalties for going over certain mileage limits. You have to keep the car in pristine condition. Therefore, your payments are likely to be even higher over the 3 years because it's not just the monthly payments. You're going to have to pay penalties most likely. Something that I really want to mention here at the end, which I personally think is the best option, is buying a car outright, but second hand. Somebody else has already paid for that depreciation. So you're not losing any money in depreciation. You're actually getting a car, you're owning it outright, you don't have monthly payments, but it's a much lower outright payment. You're not losing much money on depreciation. If you really, really need a car and you don't have the money to buy it outright, I would recommend still financing a car, and then at least you have an asset to show for it by the end. Leasing is terrible when you're constrained for cash because you end up paying a lot of penalties. With financing, you can recover a large part of the value and depreciation. But as I say, overall, I recommend buying a secondhand car. Aim for something between 7 and 10 years old even, and that will be a car that you probably don't pay that much depreciation on because it's already depreciated by a lot, and it will be a cheaper outright cost. So let me know what you thought of the video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I do a lot of videos on this channel about finance, about should you rent or should you buy a house, cars, investing. Check out my channel, subscribe for more videos. And if you want to read books on personal finance, which is something that I really recommend to really truthfully up level your finances, you need to absorb the information from a book. I have the best personal finance recommendations for books that you will ever need in your life. So if you head to my channel and you go to my Benable account, you will see the section that says personal finance books, and there you can see the best personal finance books. I think if you read all of these, you will have all the knowledge that you ever need. You will be so much wealthier in the next few years. Let me know if you get any of those books. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.